Good morning, everybody. It's Jillian. I did take off the last 2 days because yesterday I had to recover from the weekend. And it's been a while since I've taken 2 days where I've been around diverse company. Not too much diverse company, almost the same people, pretty much the same people, but in a continuous basis. Um, and for more than just an hour. Okay. And that's like, okay. And I didn't notice anything crazy during that time, except for a lot of energy. And I did post about my experiences this weekend, so you saw in real time what I was experiencing. And then, even the next, after I come home from those experiences, I only experienced like one hive or two hives. That's about it. But then it was the Monday, which was yesterday, where everything kind of came to a head. And it wasn't like a bad thing. It wasn't like an extraordinary amount of energy, but it was both shoulders really, really sore. And why would my shoulders be sore? Because both my immune systems, my lymphatic systems were working together. It wasn't just one side that was sore or one lymph node that was open, or I wasn't covered in hives, but it was just that dull ache as if I was going through growing pains. And it was pretty painful yesterday because when I woke up and I wrote a bunch of stuff and I was thinking like, should I go and do a Facebook Live? And I was just exhausted. I was really exhausted yesterday. I can now understand what blood type A's and B's go through when they're around a bunch of people who are taking so much energy from them. Okay, you're just exhausted after being around the people. You're just like, okay, I just can't do it. My husband, he's pretty adept at that because he's been conditioned for that and he's going through the natural aging process. When your body's in decline, but it's still holding on to some life force as well as capitalizing on the food and the air and the water and all that. And I just keep track of what's going on in his world to keep maintaining status quo. And he's doing okay, so I can't complain. But yeah, I was exhausted Saturday afternoon, evening, hanging out with people. And then we went fishing the next day on Sunday. It was great. I had a good time. And it was cold. It was freaking cold. That's why I was wearing all those, the mask and everything, because I was cold. But I remember how miserable I was probably like 5 years ago, being on the water in the beginning of March at the end of winter. And I was freezing. It was so miserable. But it was tolerable this last time, which says a lot, because it was in the 40s earlier on in the day. And I went out with him in the 40s. Because it wasn't going to be 60 until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Finally, the sun poked through after we had lunch with people at the place, at the lake, and I didn't catch any fish. I saw how clear the water was. Oh my gosh, it was so awesome to see the bottom. But anyway, so hanging out with people, which is not it was fun. And I can handle the pain. And it wasn't astronomically bad, but it was noticeable and I was exhausted. So I completely appreciate those that are blood type A and B around people totally exhausted, and you have to eat for all of that. And so, yeah, it was a pretty busy weekend. And I won't do that very often because, it was fine a couple years ago before climate change. Now, doing that every weekend, there's no way I would survive it. I could, but it would be miserable. Oh God, I'd have to eat so much and be in pain so much. And that's why you get the luxury if you're in the first world. And you get the privilege to stay home and stay safe. Though I've heard the last couple of days there's been shootings right down the street at the Hall of Fame Village, shootings down where I live. It's the environment's obviously, like I said, it's been getting more aggressive because it's getting warmer. We're at March 5th and it's already going to be like 75 degrees today or tomorrow. It'll be in the 80s pretty soon. Okay? And so with all that growth that happens during climate change, from 12 feet of snow in the Sierras all the way down to like 80 degrees right in the middle of freaking March or beginning of March. For every growth, there's a death. For every life, there's a death. And that's why they're saying that they're trying to save the women from the aggressive sexual orientations as well as the family, because then so much growth or reproduction, called life, called babies and family, take away from the woman. Take away from the principle. Okay? And you can go from the macro to the families. The larger the family is, the weaker the people are, because everyone's coming in a deficit as they keep reproducing. The more people have infection and growth, which is why they try to control infection, but obviously you can't always control it because you can't control the environment. You have to control how to release the life so it doesn't turn into something crazy like a cancer or disease or die suddenly. And so for every growth in your body, every microbe that grows, then there's a death. Then there's all those death juices, right? The methane, hydrogen sulfide, and the ammonia. And that's when people start smelling like death, smelling like stuff. That's why they wear deodorant. That's why they wear patchouli oil. That's why they use air fresheners, okay, diffusers. And so for every life, there's a human sacrifice. Will you be sacrificed? When people foster opposing forces within the body, the opposing forces will live while you die. That's what death is when you allow the opposing forces to metastasize and turn into something that will take you down. You will be sacrificed because you've kept those opposing forces in. Climate change develops so much life, but with so much life, there is also so much death, which is you've seen in the died suddenly groups. Okay, for every life, which is all the fertility from the remedies and all the therapies, and the system is right when they finally acknowledge it, which they will eventually, that when you get so many therapies and so much of the anti-protocols, then you will be sacrificed because you're developing an opposing force. See, you're supposed to be the one to regulate how much life and how much death is in your system. When you start taking things internally as far as an opposing force to counter what you think is bad, you have developed another life form in your body that's going to work against you. Because it'll convert. See, psychologically, you think it's going to help you. But biophysically, that remedy, that therapy is going to be converted to work against you. Especially when you don't know how to release in the proper way. Okay, so cancer is so much life sacrificing you. But as you know, people force their body to trap the opposing forces in via vasoconstrictors. And of course, they also cause breakage from using vasodilators when the body isn't conditioned to dilate, but the body is forced to because of an energy force using some kind of pharmaceutical or holistic remedy. And of course, all the food mitigation diets. All right. And so I'm going down all the way to the point of where I left off, which was the last video a couple days ago. And so I also posted about diagramming sentences so you understand how word chemistry is no different than organic chemistry. And friends and family are when you're all too busy taking care of each other, but not themselves. And the weakest person goes first. So that's why the system wanted you to depend upon your friends and family for pain and suffering, for company, for just distractions. And then, of course, when things get hard, all of you guys band together, which I understand in a different frequency, different environment, different culture. It was the crowd that protected you. It was the herd that protected you. Now the herd's going to work against you. The herd is going to work against you because you'll be too busy taking care of each other and ignoring self. And so, it's not just paying attention to your partner and your group. It's also making sure that it is self-preservation so you can then preserve your business relationship with your husband, your wife, your significant other, and even your business partner if it has to do with the business that's keeping you all alive. But it's when people pay attention too much to others and not themselves that then they become the sacrificial lamb. Okay? And so the weakest person goes first. The second weakest person goes next until the last person standing who failed to take care of themselves Family dies because they never learned how to take care of themselves. They were too busy taking care of everybody else. That's the domino effect of what's going on right now. That is civilizations rising and falling. Families and people rising and falling. When you're too busy blaming or giving credit to somebody else, when you're too busy worrying about other people and not yourself, when you have deemed yourself a savior of humanity in your politics, in your religion, and in your science dogmas, all of you go down with the ship together equally. But again, it's always the weakest person that goes first. That is the family and friends, all too busy to take care of each other, not themselves, until they all die suddenly. Like dominoes, the weakest ones always go first. You would think once you'd watch people around you die suddenly, you would change your ways. Nah, not likely. People are desensitized to death and then they die. Which is also why the family was encouraged. It sucks, it really does. Why does it suck? Because, yeah, I used to want to belong to a family. I used to wish my family was like other families. I used to wish that. And then now, as the poles have flipped, I'm so glad I never had the family that I thought I wanted. I'm so glad I'm not part of any crazy family out there. I'm so glad I did not assimilate to somebody else's lifestyle belief systems. I'm so glad I walked away from it all, because that's what actually saved me the last 3 years. It wasn't like I disrespected them. No, it just wasn't where I was going to go, and I didn't want to end up over the cliff. I was the weakest link in all of that, and I wasn't going to be sacrificed for the crowd, for the culture. No. So then I had to save myself, and that's what's going to be necessary for those who recognize what's going on, and they have the capacity to save themselves and walk away. The key to survival is to take care of yourself, but if you have given up hope, you'll attempt to save the world. That's why you were given all your politics and religion and science, and even your family and friends, and you were given pleasure and paradise. And then you think you have the power to save others and to wake them up. Nope. You were never as powerful as the system wanted you to think. They wanted you to spin your wheels so fast you would die suddenly, embrace it, and feel good at the same time, and then sell it like a drug. And then your kids would copy everything you did and end up just the way you did. That's why the government has to step in and redirect when it's necessary. That's why it's so necessary to change, because you have absolutely no idea the original intentions 200,000 years ago. You never had to die, but there must be a balancing force program within the population. And that's through family and friends and belief systems, which is why I walked away from society when I realized that I was programmed what I was programmed for. I was never to voluntarily self-destruct. It was to be another immortalized germline cell to give you another story to consider, and you still have the choice. Now, I probably was programmed to self-destruct, but then the insurance was the academics, my ability to read, my desire to be smarter and better than everybody else because I was so dumb for many years and looked down upon for many fucking years, which is why I left so many different places, because I could never assimilate to the current thing. I just couldn't. To me, it was stagnant. They weren't going anywhere. They were suffering. Too many drugs and alcohol. Not that it's bad because people have to do what they do, but it wasn't, I couldn't get on board. I tried. I'm telling you, I've tried. And I even put myself in NA for a minute thinking that I had a drug problem because I was smoking pot at the time during whatever period of time. And I go there and I was like anyone else there. I didn't feel like I hit rock bottom. I didn't feel like my life was out of control. It was very much in control, but I was still resisting a lot, but I wasn't I didn't fit the narrative to be part of AA or NA. And I don't think cigarettes would be categorized as a drug problem. So, and that was the only thing I was really addicted to was cigarettes when I was stressed out. Okay? And so, yeah, I was never programmed really to be in self-destruct, but my insurance policy was the fact that I had the desire to live and strategize my survival, because I'll tell you, there's been a lot of times where I was like, dude, I'm sitting here at this apartment, Arden Arcade in the middle of the ghetto, and I've been burglarized already twice because someone came in and stole checks or whatever out of my apartment because they opened up the back door, the sliding glass door, and I'm bringing the police, and they're just like, and I just have like a mattress and a dresser and nothing in that apartment because it was only what, $600 a month, and I was all by myself. And they're like, "Well, why is your bed like that? Why is what, do you live here?" I'm like, "Yeah." And and you're by yourself, and you have to strategize your survival. No one's there saving you. No one's there going to save you. And you got to be on your own and looking at the choices you've made. And when you're so alone, that's when you strategize. When no one's there to save you, no one's there to pick up the pieces, and no one will understand really. So you have to be the one to strategize your survival. That's when you know that you can survive so many things. When you're sitting by yourself, hitting rock bottom by yourself, that's where the genius comes in. How many people have that ability? No, because they have too many friends and family bailing them out, picking up the pieces, and they never had the chance to really strategize their survival. So it's not easy for people to walk away. Okay? And so I was watching some of the Facebook stuff, and people were going through their diabetes and heart issues and all that. And I see they're like, "Oh, my sugar is down," and all that, or my sugar levels are down, which is good for them, okay, because they have diabetes and they don't want to have sugar shock and all that because they don't have the insulin to regulate. And I'm just thinking like, okay, so your vital organs are made up of DNA, and glucose is necessary in the longevity of DNA. And so while you are attempting to control your sugar levels so your insulin can finally work for you, are you compromising vital organ reinforcement? Or do you need to add more salt to your diet to activate your immune system to push the disease out of your body, which may or not be conditioned to release? And so adding salt, sugar, and carbs to a system already gone through trauma is slow and steady transition of life, longevity, and conditioning to live. And so while those, are staying away from sugar and carbs and all that because they have sugar levels and diabetes, and they haven't gotten their hormone of insulin online to regulate because of imbalances or corked up, I mean, to what point are you actually compromising your vital organs because of that situation? And that's the danger of diabetes and obesity and heart conditions, because all of those seem to be joining hand in hand, and they're all affecting each other. And so how does a person finally get back onto the sugar and carbs and trigger their insulin to regulate, as well as make sure that their DNA isn't being compromised because of those imbalances? And that's the $1 million question that I could not answer. And I'm not in their shoes, and I've never had diabetes or heart conditions, so I couldn't tell you how you would navigate that treacherous terrain. But I just want you to know that your DNA does rely on sugar and glucose. Now, of course, how much is too much? How little is too little? And, you have to have enough, but, people are, when they're going on their diets, they're staying away from all sugar and carbs. What would happen if you added more salt and electrolytes? That actually could probably balance everything out. But then again, you would activate your immune system to regulate, and then people are afraid of heart attacks and strokes. So then, oh shit, there's that. So that's the thing. I just put it out there, but your doctor is going to be the one to regulate when you have issues with pain and suffering and fear and you're afraid of food. And that's when the government has to step in and regulate. That's why people who are against the government have forced themselves to be regulated by the government. You put yourself in this position to be regulated by a medical doctor, by law enforcement, by authority, because you can't regulate yourself. And when you can't regulate yourself, and you're forced to depend upon somebody to regulate you, and then you resent it, the government can't fucking win. So, I saved $8 at Denny's. Woo! I'm actually kind of proud to be AARP. I'm proud to be 50. People are like, how are you proud to be 50? When I was at the Denny's and I told the lady that I had an AARP card, I'm like, I'm 50, and I'm so excited to be 50. Why is that? She's like, don't tell anyone you're 50 because you don't even look like it. Well, it's not about what you look like. I am proud to be 50, and I'm able to handle pain and suffering. I can jump off the back of the boat in really thin shoes And I can feel the shock of the energy of my body absorbing the energy of the shock of me jumping from the boat onto cement. And I didn't shatter any bones. I didn't shatter an ankle. I didn't sprain an ankle. I didn't collapse. But they're saying that, you know, that more of a percentage of people who are blood type A and B over 50 have a propensity to osteoporosis. Breaking hips, breaking joints, breaking this. Well, you can't break a joint, but breaking, you know, legs and bones and arms. Even kids today are breaking wrists, breaking arms. When your bones are breaking at a young age, which you're seeing in these children, breaking wrists, breaking bones, and the elderly, and those who are over 50, triggering some kind of osteoporosis, that's an indicator of the body breaking down at a young age, and they're growing deficient as well as an older age. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm proud to say that I can jump off the back of a boat and not shatter an ankle or a leg. And why would you do that? Why would you test that, Jillian? Because I trust in meat. I trust in milk. I trust in cheese and eggs and fruits and veggies. I trust in spaghetti. I trust in the gluten. I trust in the electrolytes. I trust in the sugars. I trust that when I went through that bout, that one summer of eating ice cream every single fucking day, there was a reason behind it. The cream in my coffee. There's a reason behind me having those gallons and gallons of whipped cream that I would drink on a daily basis during that time that I was in that rebirth stage. And I had these people who were like, why would you do that? Why are you drinking milk? It's so poisonous. Yeah, look at people around you who are calcium deficient, and the supplements aren't doing shit. Or you see all the people in the elderly drinking Ensure on calcium supplements that would be like spring chickens running around with their head cut off. No, they're too afraid to do anything because they might be breaking something. And so, yeah, I'm blood type O, and I am eating the meat, milk, cheese, and eggs. If you're blood type A and B, you got to transition onto that. Because that's life, that's infection. That's also releasing the demons of the antigen programming, giving you enough antigen to give you whatever, but also the antibodies. Could you turn a blood type A and B to blood type O? It hasn't been proven yet. You hear stories on the internet, but you know how that goes. And so, yeah, I trust my faith in the food supply and my ability to handle pain and suffering and sickness, that I can jump off the back of the boat and know that I won't have to, and I don't have any health insurance. I'm jumping off the back of my own boat. I'm not going to sue myself for medical damages. And I'm good. See, that's how much faith I have in the food supply. It's not fucking poison. And I'm not deficient and I'm not intolerant. But you can tell who those are. And so when I posted those pictures of me sleeping with spaghetti, sometimes it's like that. A picture of the little Asian girl with a bed full of food. Now, I don't have the food like that, but I mean, that's obviously extreme. But I was supporting a little blurb about life cycling. My husband and I are both blood type O's. I think he's an Rh negative, but I can't be sure. But anyways, we both, after we ate Denny's, we went to a friend's house, and then I think about an hour into it, he had to take a poop, and then right after that, I had to. And it was like, wow, I had to even go back to the toilet to go release some more because it was just like, holy shit. And so I called that life cycling together. Okay? And though his immune system is still a little bit different than mine, but it's nice when we are on the same wavelength like we were. And so I said life cycling together. Yesterday was pretty awesome. That was on a Saturday. Or it was on a Sunday I said this, but it was referring to Saturday. Okay, usually when I hang out at a restaurant, I feel my head getting full. Nope, not yesterday. We were at Denny's for over an hour and I ate like a champ. saved money using my AARP card, and then Jason had to stop over at a friend's house to get some stuff for his fishing trip. And so I hung out in an enclosed space for a couple hours. I felt definitely energetic, extremely energetic. And then both my husband and I had to release demons almost the same time, and that was pretty awesome. It's like we have the same release schedule. I can't even explain how interesting that is. And even, I mean, sometimes he has to release more because he's a bigger dude, but when we're hanging out together, we are cycling together as far as the poop schedule. Poop in the morning, and sometimes we feel stuff. Even when he had some swollen fingers because of just stuff going on, I even had a swollen finger too. It's kind of weird. And so I can't even explain how interesting that is. He went first and I went next. I know it's kind of weird. I'm talking about release schedules of bathroom schedules, but I know how important bathroom schedules are. And they are extremely important. I mean, very important. Eating is also very important as well. Handling pain and suffering without treating it is also extremely important in my world. But I know not everybody can do that, so I understand it. So I digressed. So we hung out for a few hours and we went home. I had to immediately take a nap because being up so early and being in two different diverse environments took a lot out of me. And then we both were hungry again for spaghetti. So I made dinner of spaghetti for both my husband and I. And I know he had to sleep because he was up at 2 a.m. the night before, and we both went to bed relatively early. And now we're up at the same time on a Sunday morning. And so I had very little hives this morning, which was Sunday morning. That is very important to note because usually after being in diverse company, I have hives. And I was not particularly phlegmy either on Sunday morning. And so it's so weird life cycling together. You know how crazy it is when women get together and they menstruate together and cycle together and even fight together when they hang out together? Well, my husband and I are life cycling together. By the way, I have had no period ever since early fall, late last summer, last year. My menopause is amazing. 50 is wonderful. And I love falling asleep at night, catching myself snoring. So that's why I brag that I'm 50, because I feel better at 50 and menopause than I did 20 years ago. I would not go back to my youth. I would not go back to 20 years ago. Fuck no. I would not go back to trying to live up to a lifestyle, a look. I like the fact that I am not tied to those social constructs of trying to look hot and sexual and dieting and trying to keep up with everyone else. I'm so glad I'm 50. And I'm so glad I still have the collagen. I'm so glad I can fluctuate with the environment. I'm so glad I can handle the pain and suffering when I need to. And it's not so astronomical like it was a few years ago when the climate really shifted and that beast within moved so aggressively. I'm so glad I suffered and survived that situation. I'm so glad I have a strategy. I'm so glad I can handle the food supply. I'm so glad if I have to run, I can run. I'm so glad if I want to jump off the back of the boat and survive it, I could do that. I don't have to be so careful with myself being wrapped in bubble wrap. No. I'm so glad I have the survivability. And I'm 50. All right, so this is to all sexual orientations. Now, it's important to know that testosterone and estrogen are so important. Like, really important. All right? Women who are really female, who are hot females, super estrogenic. The Pamela Andersons, Anna Nicole Smith, the hot skinny chicks out there, shaking their ass at everybody. Estrogenic women. All right? Then you have the men, high testosterone. And so you got to understand that all sexuality, I don't care what it is, and family, not only causes hormonal imbalances, but also the depletion of resources in that person if they don't make up the difference. And I don't know how you would determine how you make up the difference, but one of the indicators is eating all food and dealing with pain and suffering and releasing in the proper way and not through your reproductive system, whether it's sperm or an egg or a baby, because that will cause even more hormonal imbalances and the depletion of the principle, which is the parent. Okay, this is to all sexual orientations. Preserving testosterone levels is necessary in men. That's why you say no a lot. Because when men release so much testosterone, I get it when you have so much an overabundance, which it happens. But don't let the men use up somebody else in order to release those demons, because then you are taking away from somebody else. That's why the system is into the self-gratification, because they don't want people using other people to release their demons, causing then destruction in somebody else. But that also is built into relationships, marriages, and family, and even the internet, because you have girls on there that help men release, and men are releasing themselves out of existence because they have an addiction and they have an overabundance and they don't know how to regulate in any other way except for that way. And then these girls are bred to do that for these men, and boys too. Which is why I would be very careful recommending marriage and all that, and sexuality to such an aggressive extent to your kids, but it might be already be too late, because these kids are part of social constructs that will be very difficult to resist, especially their peers. All right, balancing testosterone and estrogen is necessary in men and women. Preserving more testosterone than estrogen is necessary for men. Preserving more estrogen than testosterone is necessary in women. Testosterone in men is well known to help in libido, but don't release sperm excessively, bone density, muscle mass, body composition, mood, anthropoiesis, I don't even know what the heck that is, I didn't even look it up, and cognition, you can Google it. Estrogen in men, in human males, is important for both normal cortical bone development and preservation of healthy bone metabolism during aging that likely reduces fractures. Okay? So you don't want to take away estrogen in men, and you don't want to be depleting them of their testosterone, but they should have more testosterone than estrogen, or else, well, you know how that goes. But again, the system is gearing towards a more of a balanced human, where you're kind of not sure if they're male or female, which I get it, that's fine. But could you, let's see here, if you're so male, then you're going to be suffering from lack of release, since you have this built up of testosterone, but you have to learn how to release it and also maintain some estrogen. That's something that people have to figure out. And with women, they're so lacking testosterone. That's why they're probably craving men, just like men crave women. Okay, because of the hormones, but women do suffer from having so much estrogen. They suffer so much. I did. And of course causes the sexuality, because you're trying to bring in hormones that you are missing, which makes a lot of sense why extremely testosterone men go after extremely estrogenic women. Then you look at Leonardo DiCaprio. He's my age. He's 50. And guess who he dates? Estrogenic women. He's so full of testosterone that he dates people who are 25 and younger. Estrogenic women who shake their ass at him. And since he's put his time into Hollywood, he gets to take the pick of the litter. He gets to go through every single model that's willing to give it up for him and just dispose of the women whenever. I mean, that's kind of Hollywood. They're brought in at a young age to be then a representation for families to go and emulate, families to go and look up to. And then as they get older and put their time into Hollywood and play the part, then they get rewarded. They get the hot females or the hot guys. Given pleasure in paradise, you've put your time into directing our society in a specific way we want you to direct them, and here's your reward. Here's a hot chick. Here's a hot guy. And these girls make themselves disposable and available for these men. Groupies. It was in the music industry, all the groupies, Motley Crue and Kiss and all that. I mean, how many girls in Gen X and even boomers fancy themselves to be groupies, following these icons all around, being used and abused? All right? And so testosterone can be important in women for bone density and muscle mass, cognitive function, mood, sexual function, don't screw your partner out of existence, and energy. Estrogen in women contribute to cognitive health, bone health, the fluctuation of the cardiovascular system, and other essential bodily processes. Don't screw your partner out of existence. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. Don't assume that a healthy sex life means you screw somebody every day. A healthy sex life does not mean one must have sex all the time. A healthy sex life is balancing both the needs of the partner, because every woman takes away from men Because even women take away from men, and men do take away from women. You do not want to destroy each other from pleasure and pain. The system sexualized you so you can destroy each other through consent and predatory behaviors. The system made you think destruction is a normal thing to do in any relationship. Remember, the system wants you to destroy yourself through consent, or else you would have a bone to pick with society, and people do. So if you understand what the system intentions are, you will inadvertently destroy yourself and somebody else. So if you don't understand what the system's intentions are, you will inadvertently destroy yourself and somebody else. And people will, and people do, but you don't have to. Remember, women and men, you must have a lot more going on in your brain than your body, or else you'll be destroyed by someone who will aim to destroy you through pleasure and pain and then call it love. And that's the majority of society. And girls have been sexualized at a young age to do that to themselves and each other, so have the boys. Break the mold or you will be broken. Some tips to avoid being screwed in business deals include trusting your instincts. What does screw mean? Not being suckered by large promises or offers. Making decisions based on solid research and specific financial benchmarks. And so a lot of people get screwed in the crypto world, in the Bitcoin world, in the gambling world, which is why I don't want anyone recommending gambling on my Facebook in response to whatever these guys are doing, selling off their stocks and shares. My posts are not for you to promote any of the cryptocurrencies. It's not for you to promote gold and silver. Okay, so screw can also mean extortion or a miser. Screw is a slang term that means I do not care what happens. Don't get screwed by the people you respect the most. Don't screw people you respect the most. And so there are certain foods that men must eat to increase their testosterone levels, that some men out there who are just vegan and vegetarian will not get that testosterone. And so then that's why they work out, to try to increase their testosterone levels through working out. But then that also causes then predatory behaviors and extreme sexuality. Alcohol also decreases testosterone. All right, as far as changing for people, I only change for people when it's beneficial to me. Why would you change for somebody else if it's not beneficial for you in some way? I'm not a freaking philanthropist. I'm not benevolent. Nobody is. But when people say that they're benevolent, they think they're getting something out of it when they're not. But maybe they are. They're getting absolution. But people say, I won't change for you. Okay. Then because it's not beneficial, that's fine. But if it's beneficial for you, then you better fucking change. But when you say across the board, I'll not change for anyone, I'm only saying what I want to do and how I want to do it, then that's the cured mentality. That's when people die. Because they can't change at all, even when it's beneficial for them. And the system banks on that. Blue beam and all that. Oh gosh. Well, yeah. In my opinion, I think I can actually envision the system want everyone on the same page. And you know that they've been slowly releasing information about ancient aliens and the Anunnaki and the Sumerian pantheon and all that, and the giants. And so I can see the sky is a huge screen that every area, and they figure out how much people can see from whatever distance, that everyone gets to see like the giant, like the history of humanity, and this large screen in the sky. I don't know if it's going to be true or not, but I can just envision that if they want you all on the same page, every town will get kind of a movie of the beginning of mankind all the way up to this point and where they want to go in the future. Because you can't assume everyone's going to watch Netflix. You can't assume they're going to go to the movie theaters. You can't assume they're going to go to the different websites. But when you're outside looking at the sky and there's all these fireworks and things going on, and everyone has to stay home and stay safe, and no one's distracted really, because things are closing. All the dance clubs are closing. The bars are closing, or not really. But then they hear stuff. They go outside and they look and they're like, oh gosh, there's this big picture of this Anunnaki that's coming, that's walking from the distance. And then you hear the explosions. I mean, I can only imagine the whole theatrical performance of getting everyone on the same page. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if I was the power elite and I had access to all these different resources and I can orchestrate like the 2012 Olympics, right? If I can orchestrate the opening ceremonies of any Olympics that has pyrotechnics and graphics and choreography and storylines and vignettes and performances and music, and then all the technology that you're aware of or not aware of. Oh my God, that's going to be fucking amazing. And you better survive it, because I'll tell you, it's going to be a lot of electricity that some people will not be able to handle because it's too much energy all at once. They're already bitching about 5G. Can you imagine when it goes to 6G, 7G, 8G, 9G? So, yeah, I almost forgot the acronym that I memorized a few years ago when I was studying the universe, studying the space. And image, that was the acronym for electrical impulses, matter, gases, and acids. And that's not only in the universe, it's also in your environment. That's the image that you put out there, the image of matter that you're putting out there with energy, with intellectual capability and intelligence, but also then virtual image. What you might see as far as blue beam, what the 9/11 denier or 9/11, inside job people are saying, that it was all, blue beam, but you can't, there's no way to fucking prove it. And you can speculate. People speculate till, the end of days, and it doesn't matter whether it's true or not true. Did you survive it? Yes. Did you not survive it? Well, it doesn't matter if you didn't. You're dead. So be the one to survive stuff, and now stay home and stay safe if you can. But yeah, image is what's in the universe. Electrical impulses, matter, gases, and acids. Okay, you got to have electromagnetism. You got to have all the matter, dark matter, light matter, whatever you want to call it. Gases, obviously, that's how things are able to have combustion and all that. And then the acids, that's what gives you then the human. And of course, when you have so much acid condensed that's not mixed in with other elements, then they can eat through materials. So that's why I don't pay attention to the anti-fluoride people, because they don't put enough fluoride in the water and the food and the air or whatever to eat away. You have the ability to counter and balance out all your fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. So the fear campaigns that were found in the conspiracy world, the anti-fluoridated campaigns, fluoride in your toothpaste, fluoride in the water supply, fluoride in this, you have the ability to bring in other forces to counter everything. I mean, should the system be trying to therapize you through the public system? Well, no matter what, they have to treat the water, because too much life people can't handle, obviously. All right, so you get treated water, you get FDA-approved food and drugs, and you get the EPA regulating the parts per million of pollution, and they say it's safe enough for the general population. And if you have an issue with air, food, and water and all that, then you're going to look at your own deficiencies. But everything is regulated by the government based upon the general population. But I really wanted to remember that acronym, because that was I was like, I forget what that was. And so I went to my notes, and I couldn't find it even on my computer, because I got a new computer. So I had to go through my emails. And I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. And it was an email I sent to somebody to read, one of my chapters, probably like 3 or 4 years ago. And they're like, yeah, okay. Like, it was all just regurgitating and paraphrasing what was in the dictionaries. But that's studying. When you're paraphrasing somebody else's work so you understand the basics, that's not something you sell to who's going to read paraphrasing what's already in the textbooks? But it's giving myself the understanding of the beginning of time, as far as the stories that are out there with anthropology, then also saying that, oh yeah, we are in a very small slice of history. And Earth might be a very small slice of history. And there's probably, like they're saying, other Earths out there and other timelines out there that went through what we went through, and we're going through our own growing pains. Okay? And so, yeah, I cuddle my food. I sleep with my food. I also sleep with my food. I also sleep while my food sleeps. So that was a picture of me sleeping with all the fried chicken and drinks with cabbage on the bed. I mean, I eat in bed, yeah, when I watch stuff, but I put the dishes away and I wash the dishes, and I don't have pizza boxes laying in my bedroom. But it was kind of a funny satire, because that's kind of my life right now, is that it's so crazy outside and it's so aggressive. And I've conditioned my body to live in this kind of lifestyle that, yeah, when I do get exposed to different, diversity, and my body goes through an energy conversion, and or when the climate changes and there's growth, I have to feed it. So I eat a lot more, I release a lot more, and I sleep a lot more. And I'm fine with that, because that's what it calls for. Right now, we're in kind of like a sleeping beauty stage of like a hibernation through this climate change. And that's why you're seeing your friends and family out there who are afflicted by something, that they're sleeping 12 to 15 hours a day. They probably are trying to catch up because they've worked their body so hard how many years ago, and the body's trying to catch up. And people are mischaracterize that, and they think something's wrong, and they go get treated for that, and they're not repairing the necessary things that need to be repaired, and then they resist evolution, resist sleeping, resist whatever, and then what happens when you resist? It's futile, and people die. So they die suddenly. And the green lasers in Florida, okay. Oh, shit. If I ever see green lasers in my town, and I'm up pretty much all up and down all night long, and I would see green lasers coming over, because I'm up all night long. And so if you're seeing that in Florida, yeah, I'd be concerned. March is green. Just FYI, 2 different stories. You could think of the system trying to map out elevation levels and water levels and temperature levels. That's the sanitized version, but you would have already noticed this before. Why all of a sudden today or yesterday? They've been mapping out all the things for a long time. And now they're just noticing, and now you get to know. Why do you know about these green lasers now? Your gut knows. Even when you're in denial, your gut knows. Or are the green lasers something to be a bit more contrived? You get to choose your own adventure. And so when you see the writing on the wall is on the wall, what would you do if I saw what would I do if I saw green lasers coming out of the sky? Okay, time for me to go and delete somebody. Gotta love it when people do this. Yep, bye. All right. I know when I do this, when people get on my Facebook and I add them, because I'm a nice person, and then they have to get right into your freaking inbox. They're right into your inbox. Yep, that's why I don't add people. Block. And people in the third world don't understand that. People in the third world do not understand that. Oh, they'll figure it out. When no one wants to be their friend, delete chat. Just because I add you as a friend doesn't mean I want to communicate with you through chat. Gosh, and when people start calling you, oh my God, that's insane. All right, sorry. And so, what would I do if I saw green lasers coming out of my sky around my neighborhood? I would expect to lose everything. I would expect to evacuate at some point, assuming I would survive. And if you're on the coast, if the video's coming out like this mentioning Florida, do you think you can move in a month? I'm telling you, once that eclipse happens, that's going to be entering us into a different phase in this world. I mean, you could say, oh, that's fear-mongering. They've been saying, oh, yeah, the 2000, when the computers switch over to whatever, everything's going to end. Yeah, it's all conditioning. You got to have your indicators on. I would rather have the conditioning of indicators and be fearful and prepare and expect than be completely oblivious and think it's just like conspiracy. Because when shit happens, and it will, and it's happening, people in flipping the Sierras didn't expect to be buried, but they had that happen last year. But if they think they would have moved, that would be an indicator of something. They thought it was a freak thing. No, it's been there. I'm telling you, we're in climate change. Expect every area going to have their extremes. And then when you see Florida, it's going to go through their own BS. Get the hell out. But anyways, if you're on the coast, as a video, and if the videos come out like this mentioning Florida, do you think you can move in a month? What's the alternative game plans? I wouldn't be painting your roof blue. That would be the least of your worries. Anyways, the color green has many meanings. You can Google it. I'm not going to read all that. And then the world Wizard of Oz and all that. Yeah, whatever. Oh my God. Why do people want to tell me how to do shit? Oh, jeez. You know what? I'm just ignoring people. Oh, your delivery's bad. You'd reach more people if you do this. I don't want to reach more people. I really don't. I've already reached a lot of people through the Dr. Phil shit. I don't want to reach anyone more. Oh, God. Why? But, everyone's feeling it. Everyone's feeling it. And I understand it. It's whatever. Hold on. Okay, give me 1 second. All right, so does 12 to 15 feet of snow worry those in the higher elevations? Do you still call us conspiracy theorists who have issues with the government? I have no issue with my government because I know why they do what they do. They are the system regulators, not mommy and daddy who spoil you unless there is an agenda behind spoiling one's child. The government should not love you or even like you. They should regulate you so as to keep the human race moving forward. With that said, maybe one might not only listen to indicators, but also embrace the conspiracy world because they have been warning you for the last 20 years and more as a conditioning process, and the system has been warning you ever since the golden age of Hollywood. But now you get to switch between fact and fiction and finally realize the other storylines offered to you that is out there. I knew my gut knew something, but it has taken the last 7 years to finally articulate what my gut knows. But now it's too late for many. Like who, Jillian? Floridians, the elderly, the immunocompromised, the trapped, the immovable, the cured, who love pleasure and paradise. This is now the time to reconsider every storyline, every belief about all social constructs, lifestyle, belief systems, politics, religion, science, dogmas. However, if you cannot reconsider anything, then enjoy the show. Right now, as we speak, there are some humans who have finally broken through the prior set program and maybe offer another road for their peers to go down and test their own mettle. The system does not owe you and me a damn thing except an opportunity to evolve and change for the better, not the worse. I don't want to reach everyone. I already did. I already reached everyone through Dr. Phil. If my haters still come back to me after the Dr. Phil and look at my information and still hate me, so you obviously know that reaching people doesn't always mean that they're going to fucking understand and stop what already is here. And even if you loved me, it's not like I can help you change through the pain and suffering and have you accept it when you've been resisting it. So, yeah, I don't want to reach anything more than what I've already reached and am dealing with. So I just stay on my Facebook. And I deliver the way I fucking deliver. If you can't handle it, that's fine. I can't make you handle things that you don't want to handle. And so how many other lost civilizations use the Bible as a reference point? This is where the Bible comes by. This is where I have a feeling that the Bible has been used many times as civilizations fall. The rise of civilizations is great. Everything is wonderful. They go through their whatever, and then they have to use some kind of doctrine, which I understand, to then warn you of things to come. How many other lost civilizations use the Bible as a reference point? Did Atlantis have a Bible of sorts? I'm sure they had something to keep that society together. Or else you wouldn't have people out there that know about Atlantis. But someone knew about Atlantis. Someone knows about those that are under the water, the civilizations under the water. So how many other lost civilizations use the Bible as a reference point? I would say quite a few. It is a huge indicator of grim things to come. History always repeats because we keep dying and reproducing, children making the same mistakes. What is going on now has happened many, many times before. All civilizations rise and fall when humans become too numerous, reproducing so many times on a genetic line who cannot afford to sustain their own life and then decline. Great resets happen to the giants, which is why you have never seen them anymore except in the fables, fairy tales, and children's stories. And great resets happen to civilizations who decline in moral decay, potentially Atlantis and other forgotten civilizations. At some point, there must be a master civilization the system must aim for, and a human race who does not fall to human decay so easily, necessitating such a death and destruction every 500 years or so. So 500 years goes around 1500. That was right in the middle of the Middle Ages, when they were doing some crazy ass shit to people and also discovering stuff. And then you had, what was it? The plague, right? That happened in the 13th century. But the plague was still reinventing itself because you had flu season and all that. You must know we are just one history in a long line of history. We are just one history in a long line of history that will eventually correct itself. But during the correction process, it will be chaos and warnings and even chances to survive it if one can listen to indicators. Again, none of us are promised tomorrow, okay? I can't assume that Canton, Ohio is going to survive nuclear war that they're threatening with China and Russia hanging out together with North Korea and maybe Iran. And then we have the allies again, UK and Britain and the West and US and Australia and New Zealand and all that. So it's going to be the same players as World War III. So I can't assume that we're going to survive. And so none of us are promised tomorrow, but at least we get a chance to change. And some of us were given a chance to change and some spat in the face of it. So the system says, you chose. Okay. The Bible is like a gene, and it will be pulled out when the system is starting to fail. The Bible is a warning, and any civilization using the Bible is a doomed civilization. Okay, America was doomed as soon as it started, because it wasn't meant to last forever. America was the last greatest experiment, and it's a Judeo-Christian society. And we were, Britain's redheaded stepchild. Okay? The Bible is the immune system under attack, sending off distress signals, which is why you had Christian revival in the 1960s and the sexual revolution and the drug revolution and all the different cult leaders, the rise of the serial killers. This is not a coincidence. If one must live by the Bible, then you have replaced your immune system with an intellectualized version of your gut. The system wants you to pay more attention to the Bible than of your own gut. Remember Revelations. That's your gut telling you, holy shit, something's coming down the pipeline. What are you going to do to protect yourself? That to me is telling. Stories can be a major source of distraction if you don't understand the origination of these stories. It's your immune system, which is why science will always win. Science can play both sides of the story and the fence and play one side off each other while others get lost in the stories connected to hormone manipulation and all the archetypes behind it. That's the psychology. Science can play both sides of the fence and play one side off the other, while people get lost in the stories connected to hormone manipulation and then all the archetypes behind it. I'm not saying let go of all the stories you've come to know, because those words are like chemistry to you. They develop a life force that you have sustained for centuries, and you've told your children this. What I'm saying is start recognizing there's something bigger than the stories that were given to you. You have a lot more power than you were told. You have a lot more power. You alone can save your own soul and yourself. You don't have to think you're corrupted forever. Remember, the Catholics say everyone's a sin. Everyone is born a sinner. Well, they're not too far from the mark. You were born from medicine. You were born from remedies. You were born from corruption in your parents that caused you then to develop, because that was how the human race carried forward. What I'm saying is you can give your own absolution and still stay alive. Remember, you can't save anyone else. That's the hardest thing of all. When you have a bunch of children and friends and family, religion makes you think you have the power to save your children. You are the ones who has the power to save yourself, and you can't assume that people around you will have the same mentality. That's why you have to look at who you are. What are you? Religion was meant to destroy. And even though I was raised Jewish, I also see the destruction in all religions, even Judaism, because there's two sides to every religion. There is the plus side and the minus side, and no one likes death, but there's death and destruction in Christianity, in Judaism, in Hinduism, in the energy healing world. And then, of course, you know that Gaza is going through their own stuff. But then I look at the Forbes map of the future, and Gaza is going to be underwater. So taking aside whether it's for Israel or for Palestine, it's not going to matter probably by 2050 when everything is under fucking water. So maybe you should save yourself and let them defend themselves. Speak for yourself, don't speak for others. Let them speak for themselves. You speak for yourself from the position of where you're in. You're in the UK, speak for yourself as a UK citizen dealing with whatever local shit that you got to deal with. But when you're fighting battles that don't even concern you, that's crazy to me, is that you're trying to defend somebody or attack someone like 6,000 miles away. And so right now, religion was meant to destroy, and even though I was raised Jewish, I also did destruction in all religions, even Judaism. I still respect people and their beliefs. But right now, all religions are being used as a weapon against the people unless you can find a way to balance out both sides and you stay alive. I had to step away and still respect people. I cannot get lost in the stories of taking sides in anything. That's when you lose. You must save yourself. And again, I still respect all religions and belief systems, but I think you are more important than your religion and beliefs. I've come to know a lot of you personally through Facebook with whatever face you want to put out there. I see you way more than I see your religion. I see your drive to live more than I see your drive to destroy. If anything, rise above everything you have been told, and you don't have to die in the process. And this is with the Sharon Tate. A long time ago, couples of any sort were viewed as something very healthy and balanced. Today, couples represent death and destruction. Sexuality, sex, and having children cause hormone imbalances and then a decline in the parent individual. Normalize having less sex, no children, and developing your own brain while enjoying your own partner without causing hormone imbalances and manipulations. Normalizing finding different ways to relate to someone to make it mean they love and respect you. Okay? Having sex or no sex doesn't mean someone loves or respects you, or hates you, or whatever, or disrespects you. Both men and women's bodies change all the time, and sex should never be the expectation. Children should never be an expectation. Normalize having conversations, hard conversations with people you are in contract with. That's marriage and commitment. That's honoring one's contract. Normalizing saying no to sex. Why, Jillian? Because it's a weapon of destruction used as a deceptive indicator of love and respect, when biophysically it is not respectful to destroy someone in the name of love. In my opinion, sex should be only something between two people to cement a relationship, but not as a forefront and not used as a tool for hormonal imbalances, and as something that should be sacred and not often. It should be with someone you trust to offer balance, and it's not something to be used as a leverage against anyone or anything, and it's not recreational. And it should never be used in a contract for a relationship. Then you're treating them like a whore. Men and women get treated like whores in relationships when they don't give up sex or they want it too much. And it doesn't mean you love, respect the other person. Right now, people use sex as a disposable tool. Biophysically, you're trying to dispose of that person through sexual orientation and sexuality. Okay? And so men and women right now are getting treated like whores when they are leveraging their position in that relationship using sex as a tool and as a barometer of whether or not the person who does give it up or doesn't give it up loves them or hates them. Which is why people normalize girlfriends and boyfriends versus marriages, because girlfriends and boyfriends are disposable. So when men say, I'm not going to marry her because it's just a piece of paper. Yeah. They lack respect for that woman. They're not trying to commit. Because when you commit, there is a contract. And if men can just walk away easily, as well as women, then yeah, you're using them as a tool. It's disposable. All right? The Playboy Mansion should have been a huge indicator of how disposable his girlfriends were. Marriage is a contract, and it is a distinction. You might be offering your body used as a tool, as a commodity, but you also have a financial obligation, which must be distinct from those who don't have a stake in your relationship. You must have a stake in your relationship. And I was not going to end up to be somebody's girlfriend. There was no way when I know people's past of their relationships, and they may have hung on to that relationship for how many years, but they never married the person, I'm not going to end up that way. I'm not going to be with somebody for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 without some kind of stake of commitment, of a contractual obligation, because you are putting everything in the mix. You're mixing finances, you're mixing bodily fluids, you're mixing your worlds together. There's got to be some kind of order in that. If men and women if a man or a woman does not marry you and you're having sex with them, then you are disposable, because there are expectations, which is why I am married. I was not going to be someone's disposable girlfriend, and I had a stake in my survival and his survival. People in a marriage are not disposable, but they treat themselves like they are when they use sex as a tool. See, so when I met my husband, we had the chemistry. Okay, that was already off the bat. We had the chemistry. But if we were going to develop a life together, that was going into the trucking industry. It was not going to go in as girlfriend and boyfriend. There's no fucking way that was going to happen. So I said, you know what? We need to get married before we go in doing this. Because we already have the chemistry. The rest, it was financial. Is both of us having a stake in each other's survival. One advising the other. One loyal to each other. Marriage is when you are the most loyal out of everyone in that situation. That no matter how many friends and how many family members and how many occupations the person surrounds themselves with, that one person in their house who is married to them is going to be with them. So as long as they're not being completely abused, but will always be in their corner and advise them in a way that makes sense for the person who's advising them and the person they're advising. And it happens vice versa. You want someone to talk shit about you to other people. You want someone that has a stake in your survival and their survival. But when you start separating finances and you're making decisions without the other one knowing, and you're talking smack about them and you're cheating on them and doing stupid shit, then you have lost the understanding of what marriage is. And that's why people don't get married nowadays. Now they just go and fuck other people and that's it. And then they walk away because they can. They've lost respect for themselves and they lost respect for the people around them. And that's why you see less marriages and 50% divorce rate, because they're getting married off of sex and they haven't figured out the finances and the evolution, and they've allowed their hormones to be depleted through the children, through aggressive sexuality and destructive sexuality. Yeah. And so people in a marriage are not disposable, but they treat themselves like that when they use sex as a tool. They use sex as a tool for destruction called children, as well as a power dynamic. When people have less sex, they think something's wrong, and when they have more sex, something's wrong. Why are you having sex with people and strangers? Period. Why? It's time to redirect. The new world is about perceiving the human race, is about preserving the human race who knows how to balance social duties with individual rights. Remember, the 1960s was all about the decline of the humans and the individual through the family, friends, and sexuality. And that's why you had the sexual revolution, the Christian revival, and the drug revolution. So the drugs, you had offspring. No more messages, people. Stop. People, I'm crazy. I'm not going to do it right now, but anyways. So, hold on. And that's why you had the sexual revolution, the Christian revival, and the drug revolution. Everything was about developing offspring and hormonal imbalances. Okay? And so the 1960s is all about the decline of the human and the individual through family, friends, and sexuality. And so you had the Christian revival and all the families. You had the sexual revolution with all the sexual orientations, everyone releasing their life force from each other. And then all the drugs that developed all the offspring, the microbial offspring, and the hormonal imbalances. And then getting treated to death and conditioning to be treated. So when the climate changed, and the climate did change, all your intentions will be realized sooner and faster. And that's why Charles Manson was so bitter against the government. And why he also radicalized women under him. Because women were going to be the forefront in the decline of the human race for survival. That's why Sharon Tate represented hot chicks, mothers to be the ultimate decline of the human race in a controlled circumstance. And traditions such as family and babies are so hard to redirect. People don't want to give up that notion. Just look at your Facebook. But it doesn't take away from the fact that I see the patterns. Yes, children are beautiful, and they also take so much from you. And then you take so much from this system to support everything you expect raising your children. It will take everything for you to protect yourself, if it's even possible. It will take everything you have to protect yourself, if it's even possible, but it might be too late for many. I can't even imagine having children or animals or anything else to protect in this crazy world right now. Because in order to keep your friends and family or animals, you have to ignore indicators. And when that happens, people get traumatized because something came out of left field. They never expected it because they didn't have the gut to listen to indicators. They stayed in their homogenized, protected group of people who fed them the same story day after day. I see it now, which is why you have the uracil and the protection to corrupt the image so that way you have a chance to save yourself. Yeah, I'm that person. I cannot ignore indicators. I'm the uracil. I'm not corrupted personally, but I am a corruption of people's fantasies. Because that's why you have an immune system. Something must warn you something is changing. I don't like being in that position, but that is what I was bred for. Believe me, I've tried to resist it. I've tried to be an alcoholic, a drug addict, and assimilate, and it's impossible. I seriously tried. Normalizing being only responsible for yourself, still take care of responsibilities, but do not destroy yourself to save somebody else who doesn't have the capacity, and you can't guarantee they have the capacity to survive this new world. Having so much sex in children causes major hormonal imbalances and deficits. And if you have to release demons, try not to sacrifice someone in the process. So men who have a highly testosterone, and that's why they have highly estrogenic women, release on those women, and those women get destroyed even more so. And women who are highly estrogenic, who need to have that testosterone, will also take the testosterone from the men. And they both deplete each other. Fine, if you want to deplete yourself, fine, deplete yourself. I'll help deplete you on some level, but not to the point of where you can't recover from that. But the way it is, there are some men that use women just to deplete them of their resources to gain whatever they can, and then they deplete themselves, and then it's just mutually assured destruction. So yesterday I said no Facebook Live yesterday. I just did not feel like it. I felt like what I did when I would call in sick 20 years ago after having a full weekend of fun and diversity and adventures. And I had no alcohol or drugs this last weekend. I was physically exhausted yesterday. And I was just recovering from diversity and busyness. So the way I felt way back when was legit. And I had to take care of myself despite what everyone thought. So yeah, I had the PMDD, and that was the evolution of dealing with new microbes in the environment and my body changing because of what I was exposed to. And so I would poop a lot, and I would have, feelings of whatever, and I feel like then I would feel $1 million, a week later, and conquer worlds and all that stuff. Okay? And so, I had to save myself. So all of you holding in the house 15, 20 years ago, looking down on me, what kind of conditions are you in dealing with today because you resisted evolution? And then you treated those who had to deal with evolution like shit. How does it feel today? Yep, today I'm calling in sick. I'm sure you're calling me lazy yesterday. Oh yeah, I tested my ankle. Hold on, let me read this. Hold on. I'll read that in a minute. So virus is a colony and a conglomeration of diverse species that attack different parts of the body. It is excessive in force. And so I'm watching a segment of Grey's Anatomy about viral myocarditis, and they're going through all the different things that we're going through today in little vignettes and their segments or episodes. And yes, COVID-19 could catalyze what you already hold inside, which is why not everybody gets test positive for COVID-19, because they already hold a conglomeration of the enterovirus, of the parvovirus, herpes virus, what else? The enterohuman cytomegalovirus, the adenovirus. And so viral myocarditis, right, is a huge indicator of inflammatory diseases. And when you are corked up, this is what happens. And so viral myocarditis is an inflammatory disease of the heart muscle, myocardium, caused by a virus, a huge influx of influential microbes. In North America and Europe, the most common viruses that cause viral myocarditis are the parvovirus, okay, the human herpes, the Epstein-Barr, the Enero, the human cytomegalovirus, and adenovirus. Okay, those all contribute to cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and autoimmune disorders, and seizures, and rashes, and all of that. So I'm sure all the different hives and everything that I had, I was releasing those demons. Releasing those demons. And so Leonardo DiCaprio is an icon. His reward for being an icon is he has many different girlfriends as he wants. Some of these women were made to be disposable to him and other stars. So the Victoria's Secret girls, the modeling industry, the hot chicks that are in your neighborhood, their mothers groomed them to be hot and sexual and whatever. The modeling and sex industry were made to be conduits for people to sow their oats and dispose of people. And it would be socially acceptable and desirable. And it becomes a mutually assured destruction. And so Leonardo will leave this earth via pleasure and paradise, and so will all those types of women. That was the depopulation agenda. Hot chicks and mothers, and the system will repopulate itself without relying on people. It doesn't mean you have to die, just redirect. What do I mean by that? Because they're going to have centers where there'll be surrogate mothers who signed on the dotted line and said, yeah, I'll be a surrogate mother, but I will abide by the system's way of raising the children. And there'll be other places where kids will be raised. It's not going to be up to your family to repopulate the earth. Believe me, some families, I don't want them to repopulate the earth because they don't have the tolerance to deal with this environment. Okay? As far as osteoporosis, I gotta pee. Hold on. I also wash my face too. But all right. That's why I choose to get sick and eat milk or eat meat, drink milk, cream, and cheese and eggs. Jesus. All right. According to the CDC, osteoporosis affects almost 20% of women aged 50 and older, and almost 5% of men aged 50 and older. The prevalence of osteoporosis in Caucasian postmenopausal women is estimated to be 14% of women aged 50 to 59, 22% of women aged 60 to 69, 39% of women aged 70 to 79, and 70% of women aged 80 or older. So as you keep starving and taking so many therapies, malnourished, yeah, your bones start breaking down. So it should be kind of scary that these kids are breaking bones at a young age. The prevalence of osteoporosis of the proximal femur averaged 2.3 folds higher in women with type AB than those with type O, and the incidence of osteoporosis of the lumbar spine was high in women blood type AB compared to type O. So you look at blood type O, they should be drinking milk and eating meat, cheese, eggs, and all that stuff. But if they're not, then they'll be just like those that are blood type A and B because of malnutrition. As many as 1 in 4 men over the age of 50 years will develop at least one osteoporosis-related fracture in their lifetime. By the way, I tested my ankle strength, and bone strength by jumping off the back of the boat onto the cement. I didn't shatter my ankle or leg. I think that's a good indicator and sign that my bones are strong. Remember, I had a prior injury, and the last 3 years could have depleted my minerals in my bones. And remember, I got sick and ate so much food, especially milk and cream and ice cream. It's a good sign my ankle did not shatter or any of my bones. I do not have osteoporosis. All right. All right. Husband-wife business contract, self-preservation, and preserving your partnership. Till death do us part should not be homicide. It should be whatever the choices someone makes, and you don't want to destroy somebody else. You let them destroy themselves. Give them the opportunity. I watched Fear yesterday. Oh my God, 1996. Dude. Reese Witherspoon, Mark Wahlberg, and Alyssa Milano. Yeah. That's worse than Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Holy crap. And so, I'm menopausal. I don't believe for anyone. There are so many bleeding heart people out there. Like this guy that sent me this message. I'll read this message. This person goes, I'd like to talk to you. Many years ago, somebody said I needed to friend you. I've had some drinks, so I don't want to go too deep in it. He's had some drinks. I don't drink. Right there says, there's no way I can help people. They have, what they deem as help is through the haze of drinks. Alcohol. I don't want to go too deep in it, but I know the doomsday side and what will happen on this timeline. But I also believe in multiple timelines and personal manifestations, and more so, group manifestations. I'm a huge fan of the laws of one. I'm sad about shit too. I share these things with you. I post stuff, I see my audience isn't quite ready. I feel I need to keep the attention of the audience because they are different enough to adjust quickly when it happens. I think you follow. We can only do so much, but there's a positive outcome as well. I don't practice what I want to preach. I've done some of this work, but I need a team, a tribe, and you fighting the good fight. But your energy and disappointment is very loud energetically in your messages. Again, I've been drinking. I'm not trying to upset you or tell you how to do anything. I think you can hit more people if you tweaked your delivery. Oh, shit. And I think if you met more people doing what y'all do, I'll bring what I have to the table. It's 30 plus years of accumulated information. It's just not very organized. There's a shift happening that's obvious to some and not so obvious to others. My ex told me my delivery sucks. Bothered me that she said it, but when you rewind, she can't put yourself in their shoes. And can put yourself in their shoes. I realize I need to rewind and understand what for me this understanding, and I can't get frustrated that they don't understand yet. Maybe they won't. I'm learning to accept that, but if we deliver differently or hit the proper channels, maybe we help more that way. The only reason I reached out is because I think you get it. I think you want to help. I think that's what we're here for. We can talk about it if you'd like, or we can do our work separately. I'm honestly not positive on how to do this shit. I'm just trying to get my ass off to do, Yeah. Save yourself. I'm not collaborating with anybody. The one thing is, stop drinking. That's how you're going to save the world. Is you save yourself. I'm only doing this just to relieve my frustrations. There is no fucking way I can help anyone individually. There's no fucking way. I've already tried that. And when you get in the middle of people's health issues, when you try to wake somebody up and you activate their immune system, you know what happened? People have fucking attacked me. Because I woke up people's immune system. I woke them up. I literally woke them up with the salt. I woke them up with the chili juice. And you saw what happened when you get in the middle of people's fantasies. They want to fucking kill you, okay? No, I do enough the way I'm doing. I'm not trying to reach anything more. I already did it through the Dr. Phil show, and you saw what that offered. You save yourself. Stop drinking. Stop doing drugs. Eat all food. Stay home and stay safe. Face your pain and suffering. That's pretty much it. Come what may. And so I am an American. I speak from the perspective of America. Even though America will be merged into the rest of the world, I still am an American regardless of the outcome of this World War III. America will always live within me, just like the Georgia Guidestones will always live, even though it was torn down. I won't be used as a mercenary for anyone, so I won't collaborate with anyone. It's the menopausal women who don't bleed for anyone who will save the world because they save themselves. Just don't die. And please speak for yourself. I might be the only menopausal woman who will not bleed for anyone. And so that gentleman that messaged me, bleeding heart, trying to save the world, you can't. You got to save yourself. All right? I don't support bleeding heart anything. Actually, I find Republicans nowadays trying to save the world as bleeding heart Republicans. And of course, liberals have been construed as to be hard-hearted, but now they're trying to save the women. But they were known as bleeding heart liberals for a long time. The polls have flipped. Republicans are bleeding hearts right now. But you know you can't save people. Republicans are trying to save America and the people in it. But they haven't even saved themselves. And their bleeding heart everything is all over the place. Yeah, y'all been played. I bleed for no one. I have menopause. Okay? I'm not a soft heart. I can't afford to be. You know, people who are suffering out there, who are in need, that want everything from you because they're in such deficit because of the depletion of their hormones, depletion of their life force. And when people are in depletion, that's when they turn to their family and friends and their community, and they're trying to save other people. And so right off the bat, when that person messaged me and they said they've been drinking, there's no fucking... And even if he stopped drinking, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a reason why he's drinking. There's a reason why people are on drugs. There's a reason why they're on a string of remedies and surgeries. There's an origination point that you don't want to ever have to deal with as far as going down that timeline in that person's world. And who's to say they're going to survive getting to the origination point and rebuilding? So it's hands off. And please do not recommend anything to people as far as crypto or whatever. All right, I'm going to read these last little 3 things and I'm done. All right. Yesterday, after a long weekend, much of activity, I felt utterly exhausted, and I had no impetus to go on Facebook Live and say anything. I knew I was fighting something because both of my shoulders were so sore, I could barely lay on each side. It was like my lymph nodes were steadily pushing the weekend through my lymphatic system and out of the body when all the conditions were right. Of course, I'm energetic, and it was extremely warm outside yesterday, and it will be very warm today. Tremendous growth happens during climate change and global warming, but as you can see, the deniers who live in the Sierras think global warming is a fantasy. No, global warming climate change is when the poles are so extreme that you get 12 feet of snow in a few hours, and you get extreme heat in one day from below freezing 24 hours prior. Weather extremes such as 12 feet of snow and Category 6 hurricanes and extreme heat also trigger cytokine storms in the immune systems. You are the climate change. You are global warming, and you are cytokine storms. Survive it. Okay? And so even though you may not experience some of the things that are going out there, the extreme heat is what will also destroy people. Extreme conditions. And so, yeah, I fear all the people who you love the most more than I do of the government. So someone says that, oh, should you consider sleeping with someone who thinks the government is... who is pro-government, who loves government, or whatever the hell. I'm like, what? Yeah, I fear all the people who love the most, who you love the most, than I do of the government, which is why I stay unto myself. I can handle pain of suffering, and I'm sorry you can't. Pain and suffering is my superpower. Handling pain and suffering without treating it is my superpower. Off the food is my superpower. I fear anyone who hates food and pain because to live you have to deal with a certain amount of pain. I do not choose death over life. If that's your choice, the government has to regulate you. And we have a lot of grim reapers out there who can't wait to take away your pain and suffering until you are rest in peace. And they can't wait to take away your food, telling you it's poison. Just look at those on Facebook telling you food is poison. That should be your first clue. Yeah, they have to regulate you because you chose to be the grim reaper resisting life. Nope, the government does not have to regulate me. But they have to regulate all of you. And many of you are so far gone. You are forced to be regulated by the government through the medical system. Because even the holistic system hands over their patients to hospice. Or people die suddenly. They don't get the luxury to be in hospice because that's kind of the world we are in right now. It's a luxury to be suffering because it means you're still alive. But even that will go to the wayside. As your friends keep food away from you, telling you that pain is horrible. Oh, it is, but it's manageable in my world because I faced it. And the food was never poison to me. I took the last 3 years to face everything. I didn't resist life. Some of you are at the point where you could afford to change and face it. Face whatever's coming down the pipeline, or resist it and cause breakage, and you know what happens. We are at a fork in a road, 5 weeks away from something. You know how I know I'm free? Because never once, when I was in pain, did the government step in and take away the pain. When I was hungry, never once did the government step in and take away food from me. My mother once recommended me getting off of coffee and other foods. I should have been more afraid of her than anyone else. Well, I was. I am more afraid of family and friends than I am of the government. Because people cannot resist their family and friends. So when you can't handle pain and suffering, the government will come in and regulate your ass, and everyone around you recommending you everything under the fucking sun and the starvation. Many people cannot handle pain and suffering, so they regulate all the different remedies you put out there for everyone and your mother. That's how you know the government regulates people, when they're in pain and they can't handle it. And they can't afford everyone to die from all your remedies. Go figure. And when they starve you because of psychological operations of their friends and families, the government doesn't starve you. They are trying to find the food that's best for you, which is why you have FDA approval. Oh my God, who would have thought the government gives a shit? Of course they do. But your friends and family don't, because they don't fucking get it and they don't want to. So they have to be regulated. But it's your friends and family who take away your pain and starve food from you. Of course they have to regulate you. You would destroy your family and friends tomorrow. You destroy your family tomorrow if you could. All of you on Facebook who take away pain and suffering and starvation could and would destroy their family if given the opportunity. Which is why I don't fear my government. I fear my peers. It's tough watching them. That's why I don't take away anyone's pain. I let the government do that because you requested it. No one is forcing to take away your pain. No one is forcing to starve yourself. You should fear your mother and your father and your sister and your brother and your family and friends more than your government. So as far as government regulations, do I trust the government to regulate me? Yes. Because they know many people cannot handle pain and suffering. However, they must regulate the painkillers so society does not destroy oneself from unregulated pain remedies, which do end up in death. I trust the government to regulate society because obviously without society, no government at all. And you can only depend upon robots for only so long. You still need an extremely smart workforce and population. If you distrust government, I dare you to move to Haiti and defend yourself. The government never stepped into my household and forced me to take away my pain. The government never once stepped into my house and took away food from me. When I was eating all of those ice creams and I had like 12 boxes of 12, the government didn't say, oh, you should only have one box, not 12. I was allowed to purchase 12 boxes of ice cream sandwiches. And I ate them all too. And there's still one box left that my husband eats occasionally. Because and I had a bunch of whipped cream. Did the government stop me from buying whipped cream? No. Did the government stop me from buying meat, milk, cheese, and eggs? No. Did the government come in and take away my pain when I was in pain a couple years ago and even within the last couple weeks? No. The government never once stepped into my house and forced me to take away my pain. The government never once stepped into my house and took away food from me. Ever. Maybe you should be more scared of your Facebook crowd and friends and family than of your government. You really should be afraid of your peers who recommend you gambling, who tell you not to eat, who intended to starve you out so you can buy the stupid stocks they recommended to you. Yeah, you should be afraid of those starving because misery likes company and starving people want your fucking money. Remember, I'm just like you. There's no guarantee my little town will survive climate change and nuclear war. Regardless, I'll still be the best I can be, and I will strategize my survival. And so if you want to save the world, save your fucking self. But those who are out to destroy the world will call themselves saviors and take away food and recommend you medicine and tell you that you need to collaborate with them to get the word out, to save others. No. Those who have to save the world have failed and will not save themselves. And that's 99.9999% of people in the politics, religion, and science, and the atheists, and the energy healing people, and all the saviors and satans out there who think they have power over other people. And they fail to control themselves. So yeah, I don't collaborate with nobody. Because yeah, you got to quit drinking. You got to quit smoking. You got to quit doing drugs. You got to eat all food. You got to face the pain and suffering. And you got to realize that you have no power over anybody. Let me tell you, I woke up the world with the J juice. I activated people's immune system and they didn't want to deal with it. Your friends and family are not ready to wake up. Because if they were ready to wake up, they would face the pain and suffering. Even those in the conspiracy community don't want to wake up because they keep slamming their immune system with remedies, with surgeries, taking away food from people. They're not ready to wake the fuck up. They're not ready to help anyone. They're just taking away more life force from people. So no, I don't collaborate with anyone because they're not fucking ready to activate their immune system. They're under the influence of politics, religion, and science. And I can't deal with people who cannot face their own pain and suffering. So good luck to you. Bye.